And welcome back to Stories from the River. This is your host, Charlie Malouf, and we are here for our General Manager Series, the GM Series, and I'm here with an illustrious guest, Mr. Jose Blanco. Jose, welcome to the pod.
Thank you so much for having me, Charlie.
It's been a long time. We finally got you on here.
I think so. I think we finally got here.
Welcome to Stories from the River, a show in which we go behind the scenes at Broad River Retail.
Yeah, so you've been with us for over a decade now, right?
Yeah, 11 years.
11 years. When did you start with us?
June 2nd, 2014.
Wow. This May, we're filming in May. I'm not sure when this will air. We may clip your 11-year anniversary by the time this airs. Maybe we'll do it right on your anniversary date. We'll see. We're close to it. Jose, now we are on location. We're in a mobile studio, if you will. Describe the scene that we're looking at for our audience out here.
Wow, it feels like NASCAR is about to start any moment. I'm waiting for the cars to arrive.
Yeah, so we are at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. We've got two things taking place. Well, actually three things. We're recording podcasts. We've got the Sleep Summit for 3 days this week. And then we've got our GMRX, our 2-day Moneyball May GMRX. You've been to a lot of GMRXs, have you not?
Yeah, a few.
Yeah, quite a bit. Now, Jose, what brought you to Broad River Retail originally?
A good friend of mine got recruited by Evan Sprinkle, I believe his name was.
I remember Evan.
And he was like, "This is a growing licensee. I love the leadership. I love the CEO, and you need to move from New York and head this way." So
no, Jose, I was not the CEO at that time.
No. Well, I was talking about Jonathan, to be honest with you.
We're off to a good start here, guys. We're off to a good start. Well, I just wanted to make sure you weren't trying to butter me up.
No, I was not at all.
Yeah.
You were actually president, right, at that time?
I think I was the COO at that time.
Okay.
I got promoted to president and CEO in 2015, so a year later.
Okay.
Okay, so who's the friend who...
Joe Smith.
Joe Smith, oh yeah, okay. And what industry were you in prior to coming to the river?
I was doing furniture promotions for a couple furniture promotional companies nationwide.
That's like the liquidation sales?
Yes, cash raisers, liquidation sales,
Yeah.
GOB, stuff like that.
And how long had you been doing that?
About 10 years at the time.
So you're really good at closing.
That's what they say.
Sales.
What they say.
Yeah, you're not just closing the business for companies, but being a closer I've seen you on the sales floor. You're a great closer. Now, so you started in June of 2014. We were still on a different operating system at that point, right? We had not even gone to the stores. What role did you start as?
I started as a sales manager in Hickory, North Carolina.
A sales manager, okay. And so walk us through your progression, because I know you've worn a lot of hats.
Yes.
And worked in a lot of locations.
Yes.
Maybe the most locations of any current general manager.
I believe so. I started as a sales manager in Hickory, and then when we acquired the Arden stores, I got transitioned to an AGM of Hickory. And then from there, I went to the Asheville store at the old Barnes & Noble location towards the end of that building as a GM. And then from there, another location that we don't have anymore was Matthews, where I got designated to close that building as well. And then after that, I was at university for about 90 days during the transition of Rick Rush moving to the Raleigh market. And then I'm going to say a lot of afters, but after that, I became GMT of Columbia with David Judd.
Yeah, okay, I remember that.
And from there, I got promoted again to GM of Spartanburg. I was at Spartanburg for a little bit over a year.
You came up with the Hub City Hive.
Hub City Hive, yeah. Mission Orange Crush, I believe, Tour 2 was that. Project Sting.
Project Sting, yeah, that's great.
Mission Sting, actually. So from there, I also went to Northeast Columbia for about 90 days. Was part of their first win there. Their first win, I believe, in Northeast Columbia, and actually David Judd was the GM of that location at the time. And then I got transferred over to as an AGM of Fayetteville, and I was in Fayetteville for 5 years.
Who were you working with in Fayetteville?
I started, me and Kevin Carlson started on the same day. It was October 31st of 2018, Halloween, we both got transferred over there. And then I was there as an AGM for 5 years. Had an amazing time. We had really good results those 5 years in Fayetteville. And then from there, I was in Southern Pines for a year, and I just transferred over to the GM of the Raleigh Outlet.
Okay, so, and what, didn't you have a stint in Bull City in Durham?
I was there for Moneyball month for just 35 days.
You left that one out though. How do you, but I remembered it.
Yeah, I was there. It wasn't actually, it was just a plug and play Moneyball month.
Okay.
But then I went back to Fayetteville, so I don't really count those.
Okay.
There's been a few of those in my
really?
11 years. Sometimes 2 weeks, sometimes a
Okay.
whole month. But actual being in the building as actual title, those are the ones I had in the last 10 years.
Let's see if I can get this right.
Yep.
Sales manager Hickory, AGM Arden,
Yep.
GM Asheville, GM Matthews.
Right.
So the original Asheville, the original Matthews.
Yes.
Helped us. We shut down those two locations in 2015.
Yep.
What, right? GMT Columbia.
No, I was interim GM at university for 90 days. Yeah.
Interim GM University, GMT Columbia, then Northeast Columbia?
No, then Spartanburg as a GM.
Spartanburg GM.
Back to Northeast
Columbia
for 90 days.
And then you want to go out to the east.
And then I went to Fayetteville for 5 years.
I remember that you had tremendous success that first year with Carlson.
Yeah.
And then continued to have success in Fayetteville. You guys crushed it. You really liked the speed there as an AGM. You decided you want to get back into the GM ranks. So
Yeah.
You went to nearby Southern Pines, the Express, which became the Pinehurst Patriots.
Yeah.
And then you've just now made the move to the Glenwood Gladiators.
Exactly.
And then you probably did some temporary stops at an outlet here or the Bull City there, this, that, and the other.
Yes, a few other, 5 or 6 other locations for less than 30 days or a whole month periods.
That's quite a journey. You're like the journeyman, man.
Yeah, I like the passport, Broad River, you know?
That's great. And you remember like the original Orange Crush tours? And
Yes.
So just what are some of your, if someone were to say, how has Broad River changed in the last 11 years? Of course, you went through the ERP conversion with Storis, the Orange Crush tours, the building of, I remember the groundbreaking in Four Oaks, you've seen that distribution center come up. You've seen us do it well, do it not so well, leadership moves, leadership changes, new regionals, Kevin Kidman, different regionals,
Yes.
Chris Levenberg, et cetera, et cetera. What kind of stands out as like your mile markers to say, here's what's changed, here's what's been consistent?
The culture has always stayed pretty much the same. The processes, we towards the beginning of my stint with Broad River, every store had its own way of conducting business. Mm-hmm. There was no process across the board as we all, you plug and play and this is the process. Basically all the GMs, all the AGMs ran their own basically business. Mm-hmm. And that's basically the biggest change in the last 4 or 5 years with the C4 process. You can really now go into any store and know that you know exactly how the day-to-day operations work, which back in the day, 10, 11 years ago, that was not the case.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. So Coach Stacy has really leaned into and created the C4 playbook and process for us and helped us kind of really lean into that. So we've got more process driven and process consistency, which is great. Do you have I know you're a great numbers guy. Tell me some of the standout stats or Yodas or things that you have accomplished or won in your tenure.
Wow, one of my biggest accomplishments as an AGM was hitting the $15 million mark that we actually predicted the last year of the Orange Crush to you at, I believe it was March of, I think we had the Orange Crush tour. I believe it was March that you came, and we said we were shooting for 15 million, and we actually in Fayetteville, and that was 2019. Yeah. When we actually hit that number, barely, but we actually got, I believe, 15 million, 50,000 or something like that.
That's a great award to call your shot. I knew you had a great year in 2019 in Fayetteville.
Yeah. That
first year. What other accolades? I know you win. You remember some of the Yodas or cheeseburger trophies or cowbell trophies?
A lot of those in Fayetteville. A lot of Yodas, a lot of cheeseburger trophies, a lot of cowbell trophies in Fayetteville. A couple Grogu's in Southern Pines in 2024. but most of my accolades are not represented by Grogu's and Yoda's. It was my biggest win was the first win in Northeast Columbia. We opened up that store and they were really struggling, and I was there for 90 days, and we actually got, I believe it's 2018 was their first, August of 2018 was their first win. I don't know what the time period that store opened, but that was their first win, and I was a part of that.
That's fantastic, man. So let me ask you this. Did you always have your eye on leadership, or did it evolve over time?
I was mostly sales. I was always focused on just making my own money, not really focusing on being a leader. But towards the end of my liquidation period, I was more of an event manager, and I really liked that role of seeing other people make money under my leadership. So that's really got to me, and that's been my focus ever since. And I really don't consider myself a manager. I consider myself a leader, no matter what the title I have, which I had a lot of titles just with this company, GMT, RPM, whatever. But it's being a leader and making sure that all my HFCs know that I'm going to be the one that's going to guide you in whatever goals that you need to do this year.
You're going to be on the floor helping them close deals and helping them boost their paycheck. That's what they come to work to do.
Yes.
Right? What was the moment that you knew you wanted to become a GM?
Wow, that's because that those titles really never gravitated toward me. I knew I wanted to be a leader. The GM title is just a title. I believe that a leader is making sure that we're all heading in the right direction. So haven't really focused on the actual title. I just want to make sure that all my people that I help on a daily basis are making the most money, having the most opportunities to close as much business. The title really wasn't really the end result for me.
Love that. And so what's one early lesson you learned that still sticks with you today?
It's one of those things where you just, really hard to pinpoint specifically, but getting ready for these orange crushes that we had a long time ago was I really don't know the business like I thought I knew the business until we started doing a deep dive, getting ready for Orange Crush, dollars per square foot. How much are we going to get from every lender on the yearly basis? What do we need to do SPG wise? What do we need to do average ticket wise? I didn't really have a grasp of the day-to-day business. Mathematically, being a math guy, I was just more focused on what's the profit margin and how much are we doing volume wise. But doing a deep dive, getting ready for Orange Crush, really made me excited about the analytics of the business.
Well, I know that no one's going to love that answer more than Manny Rodriguez. We're going to have to save this clip. I mean, he wants to go back, and he might not be wrong. I think he might. This was like Shark Tank for the GM.
Actually, he did have a Shark Tank at $4 million one year.
I remember that, and because everyone had to come present their business plan, and then we took it on to the road. And so the Orange Crush was like a really deep dive. It's building your budget forward, sideways, bottoms up, top down, and making sure you know every single way and every single analytical way that you can arrive to the budget. And it forces you to really comprehend the business. And that's why I say, because Manny said, Charlie, when we did those Orange Crush tours, we really got into the business acumen. There are a lot of work to pour into. We got a lot more stores than we had.
Yeah, let me tell you, when you start doing the digging on analytics and dollars per square foot and how much are we going to get per each lender, it really opens up your eyes of how much of what kind of opportunities do we have, what are we not looking in the business that we have that we can capture.
No doubt. That's I'm glad you said that. Were there any setbacks or detours along your illustrious path to becoming a GM?
Some of the pushback that I personally felt was not being really savvy operationally. I was really great at P2I and not getting the operations side of it, whether it be OOA or missing documents or scans and stuff like that. And that's something that I had to reflect upon myself and said I just can't be a one tool guy. I need to have the whole Swiss Army knife.
That's great self-reflection. And for our audience, P2I, position to impact, being on that sales floor. And he threw another acronym that we haven't used so far in this series, but if you're going to be operationally sound and know your business and really lean on your REM, OOA, because we love acronyms, Open Orders Analysis, right?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Open orders analysis.
Yeah.
It's just amazing what you gasp for just condensing a word, and it just becomes the condensing of the word becomes a word. You know.
That's right. Everyone knows what OOA is. How do you not know what OOA is? Yeah. Which is, I mean, I've never seen an acronym that's just got, it's just like 3 random vowels strung together. But okay. So what did you learn in previous roles that helps you lead today?
Well, when I was doing liquidations and going into random cities, random states, random stores, just the culture. We know being adaptable to the culture on day one. That was the hardest thing to do. Is these random people are coming into our building and they're here to help, but they have never been into this city, this state, this store, and building the culture and connecting with what we called in-house staff when you did a liquidation. That was probably the biggest hurdle is how do we become one for this period of time? Yeah,
and then you talked about the self-reflection that you had to say, hey, I can't be just a one-tool leader who's just great at driving sales. I need to take that feedback. Feedback is a gift, and become a well-rounded leader that's operationally sound and sales-driven sound. So with that in mind, looking back, what advice would you give to yourself on day one?
I would say do a deeper dive on data warehouse and all the reports that are accessible to you at a couple clicks. I was focusing on the day-to-day business and not really reflecting on where we are, where we came from, and all the actual access that you have to improve your day-to-day and actually improve the P2I that you're actually offering to HFCs on a daily basis.
That's great. And we should probably include that in like new leader onboarding note for Renee Bradley to go through the data warehouse and the analytical, just making sure that folks know where to point and click and go to the reports and to unpack the data, making sure that people know and gain that retail acumen that they need to kind of really drive performance.
I totally agree.
Yeah. And so, you mentioned culture. What do you believe makes a store team really thrive?
When your HFCs and your REM knows that you are in the best interest for them to be successful, and you reflect that on a day in and day out basis, it really helps the culture of the building say, hey, this general manager, he actually cares.
Yeah.
He actually connects. He actually listens.
Yeah.
And that's my biggest success is knowing how to do a deep dive individually. I don't really talk to my HFCs. Yeah, we have daily connections and all that, but having that 20-second, 2-minute timeout on a daily basis and really seeing, hey, Charlie, how's your day going? How's the kids? How's I have a couple people HFCs in my Glenwood Gladiators that are going to college. It's like, hey, did you get that 85 or A on that last paper? And just make it non-business, but tie it back to the business at the end of the day.
So and that's how you build. I was going to ask you. So that's how you build trust with your team.
Of course.
You let them know that you care.
Of course, knowing that you care. Yeah.
What's the hardest part of leadership in retail, and how do you navigate it?
The hurdles, the day-to-day audibles that you don't expect to happen. And we can go through 100,000 different variations of what can happen on a day in and day out basis in retail. And just knowing that you have to have confidence in what your abilities are, and then that you can handle anything that can happen. Because let me tell you, the constant in retail is inconsistency.
That's right. And driving that consistency is the challenge.
Right.
From day to day, week to week, month to month.
Exactly.
Now, you've talked about a few things that you focus on, connecting with your people, building that trust, diving into the analytics, making sure that you're super sound on the operations. What are you most intentional about as a leader?
P2I. Yeah, I believe that P2I is a direct reflection of the store's identity and what we're trying to get accomplished on a day in and day out basis. You can't win the month unless you win the day, the week, and every single hurdle that comes with that.
And P2I translates to another one of our favorite acronyms, SPG.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. So how do you balance driving results then with developing people?
I think that you drive results and develop people at the same time. Is the 20-second timeout during a guest experience or during a C4 that really impacts, I believe in the moment training is the best training. Yes, it's good to have an RX, it's good to have an SMRX, but living the opportunities and coaching at the moment, you know, in the NBA, they have a whole bunch of 20-second timeouts. They have full timeouts. I believe that the 20-second timeout is more impactful in anything because you can actually create a better result, create a better connection with the guest by saying, hey, why don't you go over there and draw the room? Why don't you go and give them a $50 if they do a comfort test? It's just these little bits that really game change the mentality of the HFCs, and then you see the results at the end.
Love that. So what's one habit that keeps you grounded as a leader?
I believe being humble, not having the moment overwhelm you. Yes, I had really good results in Fayetteville, but I never took that for granted. Mm-hmm. I always poured into my HFCs, and seeing them have success made me happy. I never, as a general manager, you can't be too high, too low. You always have to be in that 55 speed limit.
Were you pleased with the success or the performance that you had at Southern Pines?
I think that we grew that market. I mean, we had really good growth in cowbell. We had 17% growth in SPG in 24. I was really happy with the trend that we were heading in, and I believe that Demi's going to really knock the cover off the ball with that.
And so how long have you been at Glenwood now?
Week 4 started yesterday.
So what's the culture like at Glenwood, and how does that compare to Southern Pines?
Well, the culture in Glenwood, the HFCs are a little bit younger, so it's a little bit different play when it comes to having a connection meeting and stuff like that. You have to make it a little bit more youth feeling. Mm-hmm. Southern Pines, I mean, most of them are really focused on taking care of the guests. Glenwood Gladiators, a little bit more faster paced traffic. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it feels like it's coming in all directions.
Well, you do have 2 entrances. So
2 entrances, a lot of other retailers next door. Yeah. So it's really hard to keep track of when and how they're coming. Mm-hmm. And Southern Pines is really basically a straight shot. We know when they're coming in, and we know that they're coming in to buy some furnishings from us.
So you got to have stay on your toes a little bit more in Glenwood.
Yes, a lot more audibles and a lot more core vision in Glenwood than it was in Southern Pines, definitely.
How do you like that sleep gallery in the Glenwood Gladiators?
I just think it's amazing. One of the biggest ones, I know the one in Southern Pines was a little bit smaller, but I really feel like just having that direct hit, it makes it feel like it's a multi-store within a store,
Yeah. And so what's something unique about the team dynamic at Glenwood?
They're a family. We have a group text. They make sure everybody's okay if somebody's not feeling well. It's more of a family-based type of culture, and I'm just happy to be a part of that. When they added me to the group text, I was like, wow, and they all welcomed me to the group text.
That's great.
I just feel like they have a really good family network over there.
That's great. They're going to add me to the group text? Probably not.
Yeah, you have already too many group texts you're probably on.
Yeah, can't be on. That's a good point. I don't get it. Okay, we'll leave that there. Let me ask you, is there a recent moment that made you really proud to be a GM?
When Rebecca Palmer, 18 months in, became an expert last July 2024, and her determination to become an expert, that's the fastest you can become an expert with us. And when she became an expert in July 2024, that was my proudest moment, because from day one, she set out a goal when she was still in Fayetteville, when we first hired her, that she said she wanted to accomplish that. And we told her that 18 months was the first availability to become an expert. And then seeing her face when she got that was probably the proudest moment of my 11 years here. Wow. Because day 2, she's talking about becoming an expert. And I'm like, wow, this girl is going to be amazing. And she had really focused, and you know, focus is a finite resource, right?
I've heard that once or twice.
So she really focused on how can I become an expert the fastest possible. And me and Josh laid out the groundwork. And then when she transferred over with me to Southern Pines, we continued that groundwork. And just seeing her accomplishments at the end of June of 2024 to become expert, I just can't say anything. That was just amazing to see her actually succeed something that she put on the board 18 months before.
I mean, this is what's core to being a general manager. I love that your proudest moment is a personal success story of someone on your team, seeing them accomplish a goal that was super important to them, required a lot of drive, a lot of passion, a lot of focus. And I love that was your most, your proudest moment. And then, let's just put on the screen here that quote: "Focus is a finite resource." Focus. You got to pay attention to what you say yes to and what you say no to, because if you want to go after a really big goal, audacious goal, you got to say no to a lot of other things and really get focused in.
Absolutely.
Okay. Speaking about high performing, salespeople, what would you say to a top performing salesperson who's thinking about becoming a GM?
To really make sure that you're ready to lead. It's a big transition from focusing on yourself to focusing on a team basis. But if you had really good success as an HFC with us, I believe that can translate over to becoming a great leader with us.
Okay. And so why is this is our GM series.
Sure.
So why is becoming a GM at Broad River a rewarding next step for someone in sales?
Just the jackpot bonuses and the monthly bonuses, it could be really lucrative for you. And just making if your desire is to make people better as an HSC and you want to grow and you think making people better is one of those DNAs that you want to capture, becoming a GM is definitely the right transition from an HFC to a GM. And some people think that that's a great decision, but I think it's a great decision because I lived it.
Yeah, that's well said. And so, if you're comparing the GM at Broad River to other leadership roles at other retailers, what makes the GM role at Broad River at the River different?
We're a performance-based company, and some companies are not performance-based. Some are just salary-based, and Broad River is you know exactly how much you can make. You know how much you can make as far as the jackpot bonuses at the end of the year. We lay out all those at the beginning of the year, what KPIs you need to hit to get there. And it's really a destination type of lucrative position that, if you hit these numbers at the end of the year, you know exactly how much you're going to get at the end of the year.
So it's really well said and pretty astute wisdom there. So what you're saying is, the money is lucrative and attractive.
Yes.
It's transparent, and it's for people who are performance-minded and driven.
Exactly.
Okay, got it. I got it. So how does stepping into a GM role elevate someone's growth beyond sales?
It really helps you connect and get to know other types of personalities, other types of ethnicities. It really helps you see other perspectives of other people, how they think, how they see the business, and I learn a lot from my HACs on a daily basis. Like, sometimes somebody tells me, "Hey, you should look at it this way." It's like, wow, I haven't even thought about it. Sometimes you start thinking, it's like, is my way the only way? And then you get another perspective from anybody. It could be an REM, and you're like, wow, maybe I should actually consider that when I'm thinking about doing something with that KPI or anything like that.
I love that you're essentially saying, as a GM, I'm still going to be the general learner, and I'm open for coaching and feedback. Like, I'm open for business.
Yeah, learning is an everlasting gobstopper.
Yeah. Learning is an everlasting gobstopper. I think that's a showstopper comment right there.
Yeah, I think you know
Drop
that,
the mic on that one.
Willy Wonka, right? Willy Wonka. Yeah, it was one of those things from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory that they had an everlasting gobstopper, and they never introduced it to the market because they thought that sales were going to go down because of the everlasting gobstopper being everlasting.
Yeah. Have you seen the newest Wonka?
No, I haven't.
You should see that. It's a great version of that story. But that's a great one. Learning is an everlasting gobstopper by Jose Blanco. That's a new phrase we haven't heard here on Stories from the River. Okay, Jose, for someone thriving in sales, why might the GM role at Broad River be the opportunity that they didn't know they were looking for?
Being a GM of a store does a lot more volume than an individual HFC, right? They write 2 million, 1.5. If you get to become a GM and that's your passion, you can have a $15-20 million store, and if that if you're chasing bigger numbers, is really the only other option you have. At some point, and I don't really want to say this, but at some point you're going to max out how much you can write. There's only so many people that you can take, but by becoming a GM, you have the growth ability to have a $15 million store, a $7 million store, a $20 million store, and that's not really possible as an HFC.
Got it. And so, Jose, I mean, you've worn a lot of hats here at the River.
Yeah.
I remember one time you told me that when you closed the Matthews store, you worked like 37 days straight or something like that?
Yes, open and close.
What was the number of days?
It was actually 61 because I counted the ones, I went right from Asheville, moved, and then closed from Asheville, moved the next morning, and then worked 12 to 9 the same day I moved. And that was 61 days of open and close. But it was necessary because there was a lot of moving parts. We were selling a lot off the floor. Inventory had to be right, and I really wanted my hand on all of it because at the end of the day, as a leader, I want to be accountable for anything that happened in my building.
Those were two really critical projects at that time to really wind down those stores successfully. And we knew that we could trust you. And you did it really well in Asheville. And then we said, hey, there's no one better than Jose to do it in Matthews at that time. And so to do that, I didn't know you had 61 days in a row. You did what was required at that time. I don't even think anyone asked you to do it.
No, it went from, Asheville, we actually blew out the whole store like really quickly.
Yeah.
We ran out of furniture, and I believe we closed the store a week or two earlier than what we expected because we had nothing else to sell. We were empty.
Yeah.
And then the transition to Matthews happened like, hey, did you want to? We have to do this in Matthews because of this reason. Did you want to go? I was all over it. I mean, like I told you, I'm gonna always do whatever Broad River needs for me to do at the time, and I was all over it, and I was willing to help out. And actually, Matthews was a little bit longer of a process, and for some reason, inventory kept on coming in when we were. But that's a Manny and me story. Then
we knew that you were going to sell it. Jose, did you ever think when you joined us 11 years ago that you would be here for 11 years?
No.
Was this like this will just be a pit stop along the career journey?
Yeah, when you're in retail for so many years, the consistency of retail is inconsistency, and I never knew that I was going to be here 11 years. I was hopeful. I was tired of bouncing around, jumping on Southwest Airlines planes and living in hotel rooms. I wanted to have a ground base. But my ground base became Broad River, didn't become a zip code when I was with Broad River.
Yeah, that's well said. Well, you've certainly grown a lot. So the company has too. And you're kind of the epitome of, we like to say we will grow as far as our people will take us. And you've epitomized that. So we've grown a lot in the last 11 years, but so have you. And you've worn a lot of hats. You've gotten better, improved as a leader. So that's a testament to your personal growth journey and development. And thank you for all the hats and sacrifice and hard work and sales that you've closed. So here we are coming down the final stretch run, the final lap of this interview. Is there anything that you wish I had asked you or that you had maybe wanted to say that I haven't asked you or that you haven't said yet today?
For me, being with Broad River has become my family. My mom lives in Spain. I mean, my parents were originally from Galicia, Spain, migrated over to New York in the early 70s. Great work ethic, and that's the DNA that I had. But what I really wanted to tell you is being legally blind and the care and anytime I make a phone call needing something, I've never been treated as well because of my disability with any other company. So makes me teary-eyed to be in front of you to tell you that. But I just wanted to thank you for being so Broad River in general, for being so accommodating.
All right, don't make me cry on camera. Listen, I think your story is one that you haven't let your disability hinder you or get in the way of pursuing your dreams, your goals, and really helping other people achieve their dreams and goals. And so thanks for all that you do for us here at Broad River, here at the River. And he's got a great memory. He knows every stat, every KPI. You can quote him on it. He'll tell you the fact that he can just quote, yeah, we grew SPG 17% from in 24 last year. I mean, he's got these stats. They're tucked away there. He'll remind me of them from time to time, which is great. You got to have people who know the stats, have the memories. We're furnishing life's best memories here. So Jose, thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
We'll try to make it not be another 11 years before we have you back on.
No. We're gonna have to do this a lot sooner the next time.
Sounds great. So, hey, thanks so much for joining us here in our GM series with Jose Blanco, our general manager of the Glenwood Gladiators, on location here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Jose, I know tomorrow, the rest of the day today, you'll finish the GMRX, and then you'll go to Mission Possible Sleep Summit, another sleep summit that you've got tomorrow with all the GMs attending. And so, hey, thanks so much for joining us here at Stories from the River. We try to bring you the freshest new content in furniture retail, home furnishings, I guess, every Tuesday and Thursday, wherever you get your podcast content. Could be on YouTube where you can watch it, or if you just want to listen to it and go mobile on Spotify or Apple. And by the way, Spotify is doing videos now too, so you can get them on video on Spotify as well. So thanks so much for joining us. If you want to leave us a comment, please leave us some feedback. We love to read your comments, or let us know what you'd like to see, and mash that like button or subscribe button. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for listening to Stories from the River. To check out more episodes, visit storiesfromtheriver.com. To watch this episode, go to youtube.com/@storiesfromtheriver. Join us again next week, and remember to like, rate, and subscribe to the podcast.